Cool. You guys doing okay? All right. So we've been told our time, so it's a bit on the clock right here. But gentlemen, welcome to the stage. I want to start off by saying that this panel is quite special to me because I have been recently tasked to scale. When I said yes to this assignment, I didn't know, but I was now tasked to scale into Indonesia. So literally after today's session, I'm going to learn from these guys, and I'm going to, grab a quick bite and going to fly off to Jakarta to practice everything I've learned from these guys. So it's a real privilege, and we're going to do it this way. Just a bit of a spoiler how we're going to do it. Like any good workout, it comes in 3 sets. So we'll start off with a bit of a mindset. We're going to talk about mindsets, right? And then we're going to talk about our skill set / data set. And thirdly, we're going to talk about setbacks, right? That's just a spoiler of what's going to happen. And then we'll take some Q&A, and then we'll have some finishing words, right? But before that, let me set it up to introduce the pedigree, or I dubbed them the sultans of skill that we have on stage here. A true privilege. Even talking to them, honestly, I was challenged. My assumptions were challenged, or even my own approach in scaling. But let me start off by introducing Dr. Ingky. So Dr. Ingky has 3 successful exits, right? And yeah, can you clap for that? 3 successful exits, and now he's on his 4th FDA-approved Ventamin, launched May of this year. But this is where it gets interesting. Just by the main launch of this year, he has already, on the first day of the launch, 17 countries already, buyers from 17 countries. And within the first 5 months, 38 countries already on the client list. And his revenue is on track to hit 2 million by the end of this year. Amazing, right? So he's currently in talks with the US and India distributors, right? So that's Dr. Ingky. Next, Vykintas Mineikis is a regional operations director of ZALORA. And back in 2012, he came to Malaysia and he scaled ZALORA from ground zero to a 300 million euro business, not RM, 300 million euro business. And he oversaw the expansion of ZALORA's fulfillment hub, which enhanced stock management and delivery efficiency across the region, 100% year-on-year growth within a 20 million euro budget, right? And he currently, ZALORA facilities handles 7 million items with inventory over 3,000 brands, including household names like Nike, Puma, and H&M, right? So round of applause for Vix. And finally, Thomas Yip, founded Radica Software in 2005. He led the company from humble beginnings in Ipoh. How many of you are from Ipoh here? Wow, there we go. I'm from Taiping, not too far away, northern side, but Ipoh Madi. So his products are electrical computer-aided design ECAD software, which enables engineers to collaborate remotely in real time. And his customer base spans over 68 countries, right? Notable clients includes NASA, Ford Motor, Apple, Amazon, SpaceX, the US Army, and the Navy as well. And despite the team size of a humble team size of only 19 people, right, the company has sold thousands of licenses internationally, and most notably, the company was acquired by Siemens in 2022. So you guys know, these are my mind, not play. These are the real heroes. So let's start off with the mindset, right? Any of you, what was the mindset before entering the new market? What was going on in your head space? Because we commonly hear like a lot of startups in Malaysia, they say, Jago Kampung first, let's start here first and then see how we scale. But what was going on in your mind? Maybe you can start taking since holding a mic.
So when we first came out with the idea of Ventamin, somewhere towards the end of last year, since day one itself, we knew that we are not going to only be in Malaysia. So we have really baked it into our DNA and into our initial business plan.
Global from day one.
Yes, global from day one. Right. The reason why we want to be global from day one is because we want to prove a certain point. Number one, we want to prove that Malaysian companies can compete on an international level. Secondly, Malaysian companies, we have the infrastructure and we have the brain power to compete on such a level. And also, the third one is, yes, a lot of people say Malaysia is a very small economy or a very small country. What I believe is Malaysia is a great sandbox for you to validate your business ideas. But once you've validated it, you need to go global.
Right. And many companies stay in the sandbox for too long, right? Thomas?
So for me also, roughly the same like Dr. Ingky. The thinking was global from day one, right? And The reason being so is that, especially after I visited Silicon Valley, I found that, operating in Malaysia has many, many advantages. First is cost, right? We can operate at far lower cost compared to let's say you operate in USA and so forth, right? I went to Silicon Valley with you. So then I came back here, and like Dr. Ingky said, we do have many, 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 many examples. If you look of companies operating on a worldwide basis, right? So day one designed that, did that, and I strongly encourage everyone to do that, go global.
Right. Yeah. So a little bit different on the ZALORA side, because we were set up by Rocket Internet, that's a venture builder, basically came into to the markets here and basically to set that up. I think the key thing when we knew already what we're building was in the mindset was the can do. So it's a mindset of no matter what, we'll try to figure out. So if there's a lot of problems you always face, right? But if the mindset is can do, then you're thinking about how are you going to solve the problem rather than to put it in another way, rather than thinking, okay, what is the problems and why I cannot do it, right? So it puts you in a very different type of mindset on focusing on solving the problem.
Yeah.
And in my conversations with Thomas, I was telling him that, wow, he's like Roger Bannister of Malaysia, because he broke some boundaries and broke some expectation and skill. And then he started listing all the different companies in Malaysia that has already done so. So sometimes it's just about knowing and recognizing that the limitations that we have really is the self-imposed limitation. There's a glass that we put ourselves in, and sometimes we need to break that glass, and it starts with our mind, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I want to add a little bit on that, because with through my interactions, with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of Malaysians, the idea seems, and I call this, a proton syndrome.
Proton syndrome.
Yeah, it seems that everything that we make was not good, like proton, right? But if you open your eyes wide enough, you see many, 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 many companies. They are doing so well. They are global leaders, including MDT innovations and so forth. Many global leaders in Malaysia, if you look hard enough, they're good enough.
Yeah, anyone else add on to that? The mindset aspect of it, your observations of local startups right now. Like very often we hear this whole limitation. Let's start here first, and they stay in here. I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. We're in a complex space, highly regulated, and we keep saying that, okay, let's be Jago Kampung first, then we scale. But fast forward 9 years later, we're still here.
I think a lot of Malaysian founders have a dream to go global. However, most of the time, it just remains a dream. You have no action plan on it. A lot of Malaysian companies, they don't know how to scale globally. And actually, to scale global, and then one of the things is when they can't scale globally, then they point fingers. They point fingers at the government is not helping them. They point fingers that, there is a glass door for us to enter the other country. Right? However, all of these can be broken down. Yeah, all can be broken down. There are a lot of methods actually to scale globally. And I would say another thing, that if you want to scale globally, right, you must be country agnostic. A lot of founders that I've met, they have this set mindset where, hey, after Malaysia, I want to go to Indonesia. Then when I ask them, why Indonesia? And so, it's just a big market and all, but do you actually understand the Indonesian market? And a lot of times they say, no. You must be country agnostic. Go to where the market tells you that there is a demand for your product. And it doesn't matter if you have to fly 12 hours there. But if there's a market for your product, please fly 12 hours to that country and then do business there.
Yeah, maybe a big secret also way to this, as a counterpoint, maybe like you come from an environment or playbook from Rocket Internet where you don't think as much, you just do it, right?
So, I mean, Rocket Internet, and the saying often it's called copycat in that case of businesses. So the key thing was to choose which market to enter. And it's actually doing all that background research. So as Ingky said, like you go down, you try to understand what's happening. And the key prerequisite was, and let's talk about ZALORA. So the prerequisite for fashion e-commerce was that we know it's going to work at a certain point sooner or later. It was just about that We want to be a number one player in the market because in e-commerce, there's a huge scale game. And it was about going into the markets where there's no clear leader who's dominating currently the market and basically going after that. And that's how actually we came in Southeast Asia in that case. And if I take Malaysia example, the time when we entered and set up the website, most of the people who did shop online, that was Lelong days, right? So there was very different experience, and it was us breaking through and changing that as a norm in that case, and how people shop online, and the fact that shopping online is safe in that case.
Brilliant, brilliant. So let's move on to our next question. We're talking about skill sets / data sets. Like, what was the go-to-market strategies, and what was the key competencies that you worked with, or what was it that you needed to know before, like, piggybacking what it's just said, like this market versus that market, or how much to invest into a specific region?
I didn't do that. I don't think that is a particular skill set that is required of you to go global. So for me, and I told you this, if I've concentrated locally, I would not be sitting here today. I would have been dead. Right? The market for local software and all these things, and the ability to pay for that amount, right? So that means never getting a chance to go global.
Hey, Thomas, I think you need to repeat that again for everyone to hear, to lock it in. If you were to,
If I were to concentrate on local market first, I would be dead before I get a chance to go global.
sound right there.
Right? So and then it just so happens, and I sort of got lucky, and there were people buying overseas and all these things, and from then on, then you see that the demand, where are they coming from, right? And for those places where you don't have demand, then you go and think about how do you generate the demand, or how do you price it so that you can have the demand and you want to gain that market share. So that's the thinking that goes into this, right? So I didn't think that there is a particular skill set that I require in order for me to do that.
In a sense, you didn't wait for approval or acknowledgement from within this region. You just thought, just bypass that and go straight for the world, right? Dr. Ingky?
We did something similar to what Thomas did. So I would say most companies, 99% of companies currently, or startups currently in the market, what you're doing is you are doing lead generation. That means, you are actually bottom of the funnel. What we did was we did demand generation. So we asked the community, what do you want? What is the solution? You have this problem. What kind of solutions do you want? And from the feedback, we developed the product for the market. So what that actually gave us an advantage is we are now one of a kind. We have zero competitors because our product is unique to the demand. And I think that's what actually Thomas stumbled upon, right? He created a product, right? Because it was based on the demand of these people. And it doesn't matter where they are, right? It doesn't matter they're living in Malaysia, whether they're living in the States, right? I think the one thing you have to understand is the human desire and the human problems are typically the same all over the world, right? As long as you can save me time, save some of my problems and allow me to be a little bit more productive, I will definitely use your solution. So as long as you can break that mindset and you can create that particular demand for it, then go to where the demand is.
I can't help but draw the parallel because you are coming from a medical background. So you kind of approach it in a scientific approach, like how do you break it down, experiment and all. Yeah. What about Vix here?
Yeah. So talking about skill sets. So, in the beginning, we knew what we were building. So there's actually no specific skill set that was looked upon. That actually, coming back to the previous question, is the mindset that's a lot more important. Like what I was mentioning is the can do, right? So if you focus on that and you focus on doing, you'll learn the skill sets that you need. It did help us in the beginning to bring in people from other markets where e-commerce had a much higher penetration. So we know what to expect and what's going to happen a couple of years down the line. That was a skill set that definitely helped us to, scale up in a much faster way. Apart from that, no specific skill set. It's really a lot more about the attitude and mindset in that case.
So it's just knowing in your mind that it's a yes, jumping. what would to ask your questions via that app that you guys are using and upvote it, right? And then we will address probably 2 or 3 of them after this, right? But who wants to go first?
So my product is food supplements. It's a highly regulated product. It's not software whereby you can, subscribe online. So because it's food supplements, we do encounter issues when it's imported by certain countries and they require certain paperwork. All right. So we did find out the hard way that certain countries do not allow our products to go in. So, and then, as an apology, we bore the cost. All right. However, that also allowed us to find out which countries are difficult to enter. And then for us, that is actually low priority for us. And then by shipping all over the world, and we actually don't make money when we ship outside of Malaysia. But this allowed us to test the market. And because now we know that there is high demand in this couple of countries, now we are actively seeking distributorships for those kind of countries, and we are actually getting our certifications for those countries. So I would say the setbacks are good. Right. We have very tiny setbacks. They're not major setbacks, especially they're not financial setbacks. Just small hurdles for us to jump over. But that allows us to then streamline which markets to actually target, right? And which markets are much more susceptible to our product. They are open to the product, and it's easier to actually get it registered.
And in your case, you had the luxury or the experience of 3 exits prior. Maybe in a short form, what were the learning, just top level, that you learned from the previous 3 exits that made you success from day one, right? In your new one.
So I think the learnings from the other exits were try to create a product or a solution that is not that does not limit you geographically or politically or any sort of regulations. If you're in a very highly regulated industry, it's really difficult for you to scale out of Malaysia because certain regulations in the certain countries are very different. And so hence that's why your solution should be as agnostic as possible, be able to break barriers as easily as possible. But at the same time, as you're breaking the barriers, you need to set up your defensibility. Because if it's easy for you to break barriers, it'll be easy for people coming up, who are coming from behind you to actually break the barriers with you. So by then, you have to build up your defensibility, which is typically your branding and your customer service and all of this. But prior to setting that up, I think what you should do is you should try to expand as fast as possible, right? Make mistakes, small mistakes along the way, and then double down on what really works for you.
Great. Thomas?
Like Dr. Ingky also no major setbacks, perhaps small ones. Like for example, USD as at its current state is not too happy for me. 4.5 is even better, right? But of course, one of the major ones is during COVID, right? It's cut revenue dropped by 50-60%. While everybody's sort of working from home, it was our first time working from home. It seems like a holiday to everyone. But I was at the office every day, right? And the thing is that for many people, especially for my acquisition, right, was 100% online. Nobody fly down and saw it.
Same as mine as well. My last acquisition was done 100% online. We never saw them. We got the papers mailed to us. We signed it. We sent the papers back.
Yeah. So I mean, before COVID, just 3 to 4 years ago, it is unthinkable. Any dollar, big dollar amount, you need to fly that, right? Unthinkable. It is crazy how the world has changed. And because of that, right, it means even more incentive for every one of us to go global, right?
Great insight, Thomas. For Vix.
Yeah. So every business at a certain point has an existential crisis, and I think we would not be on the map today if we haven't figured it out. So our problem was cash 2022. So we didn't have revenues. We didn't have, we couldn't get assortment. So we didn't have revenues, and we go to the brands and talk, hey, you want to go on e-commerce and list with us and start, driving some revenues online? And then the answer was, hey, you're not driving any revenues. You're not doing anything, right? So like, yeah, e-commerce is going to maybe work at certain point down in the future, but why you? So we actually couldn't get the brands on board. And that was the challenge for us that really set us back, because we hired like 100 people and we're going to go strong and go after it, right? But basically it's all cost. So actually we went down the route of taking pictures of products in the shops and just posting it and listing it on our website and getting people to shop. Once the revenue started coming in, we have managed to unlock it. And we got actually the brands to come back and talk to us, right? And that was the time where I think if we haven't figured that out, we would not be at the map today.
So really what it comes down to is actually great. Like all of everything you shared, it goes down to the ability to have a high pain tolerance and just taking the punches and then getting back up, continue soldiering on. So let's get to some questions. The highest voted here is this one. Again, ask your questions online and top voted, we will go through it. I think we can only do about 2 or 3 questions, 2 maybe. Yeah. So the first one is growing locally is tough, right? So how can a startup with limited resources go global from day one? Should we target one high currency country at a time or market everywhere and see what sticks?
To me, I don't have to answer that question, right? Okay. Because if you put your stuff on the website and you have a, digital payment processor, then you're not in control of what country. You can't say, I just want to sell to this country and not the other country. Okay. It will come to you, right? And then if you do that, and you need to do all this digital marketing really well, then the market will tell you where you should focus. Most of the time, 80% of the sales will come from the 30% of the countries. It's not all of them.
I'm the devil's advocate here. I would say growing locally is easy. The reason why is this. If you do travel, you realize that Malaysia, we have it good. Where we're actually one of the top countries. We have a very small geographical area with very high dense population, especially population density in the 3 largest cities, KL, Penang, Johor. As long as you target these 3 cities, right, your solution and your product is going to be great. If you struggle to grow locally, it just means one thing. There's no demand for your solution. Your solution is not good enough. Go back and reiterate. All right. So it's not a problem with the local market. It is the problem for the demand for your product. So as long as you fix it. Now, once you fix it, we are one of the only countries in the world where the government give you grants to help you locally and to expand internationally. Try doing that in neighboring countries. They will not give you a single dime. You have to pay everything out of your own pocket. So we are blessed by being, I'm not sure about all of you, but my business is blessed by the ringgit being weak. I'm blessed by the ringgit being weak. Reason why? Because when I sell globally, it's in US dollars. When I bring it back to Malaysia, it's worth much more. So instead of blaming the hands you were dealt, play the hands you're dealt to your advantage. So stop blaming things around you. All right. Start seeing what are the diamonds in the rough and how you can polish them and use it for your advantage.
Great. Yeah. I mean, Rocket Internet a bit different, right? In that case where we had the cash and we had the money and to go after it. But in that case, I would answer the question a little bit different way. It's having limited resources actually makes you focused. It makes you think harder. It makes you prioritize things that really matter. Now, we built ZALORA, but if I was to go back in time, we burned so much cash in the process. I think we still burn more cash than, we will ever make in the next couple of years for sure. So having limitation and having that, don't take that as something that's like kind of holding you back. It's actually kind of pushing you to figure out the way with your limited resources, how you can figure that out. Yeah. In a way.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you see anywhere in the world, some of the highest innovation or the biggest ideas happen in not the most ideal environments, actually. Really, it's the limitation that forces you to go against it. And coming back to the first question, it's often the mindset block that we have. Honestly, when I was talking to these guys, I know where this question is coming from, and even me had to challenge a lot of assumptions, right? A lot of things which is like, wow, you really need to do it well here first, then only you can have something to talk about and skill ma, or you learn here first ma. But that really is a limitation that we put upon ourselves, right? Great. Okay, let's take the next question. As successful entrepreneurs / businessmen, what is the best financial advice you can give us startups? I think there's about 900 plus. I heard 900 plus startups here. Yeah, speak to them.
I'm not a what do you call that financial expert, but I've seen many startups, right? Okay, one of the first problems is that they scale too fast. Okay, and there is this danger of raising at too high valuation, which should hurt you down the road. For me, that you got to be careful about these things. In addition, I agree with Vix in the sense that when you have money, you tend to do things slightly different when you have none, right? When you have none, you got to get creative, right? So getting creative is great. In fact, for our case, initially when we did all the digital marketing, we relied a ton of that on organic traffic, on good content, on what people want to find. And this stands us in good state during COVID, whereby in order to save money, again, due to limitation, I don't have a big investment. I have to, be frugal with my money. So I switch off all my advertisement, all of them, Facebook, Google, all of them save a ton of money and still see sales beginning to creep up due to those organic content. So these sort of things, being pragmatic, being frugal, being innovative, is very good for startups.
So in the sense, a bit of organic growth rather than anything manufactured or advertised into spending our money, you grew organically, right?
It depends, right? Organic is good, but sometimes paying for advertisement and all these things can help you grow. That's, for me, it's even better, right? But sometimes it does not, right? So the key here is that if you can use money to grow your revenue, I would be the first one who line up in the bank and borrow a big large sum, right? But sometimes having money may or may not grow your revenue, and you will use it for something else, right? And sometimes that's not the best use of resources.
For me, I would say negotiation starts at no. So whenever someone tells you no, whether it's the market saying, no, I do not like your product, then you start to negotiate why is the market rejecting my product or my solution. If you have gone to pitch, whether it's an accelerator program or certain VCs or PE firms, and they say no, then it's for you to understand why they say no. Instead of going back and saying, oh, these guys don't understand my idea, I'm going to go to the guy down the street, right? Understand why. Start to negotiate, start to get feedback. And if, let's say, your own team also, or your team or your co-founders are telling you no, then that's when you start to understand what is the issue. Because when you dive deep down, then when you start to solve all these internal problems and problems of the market, then you realize that you can actually grow organically. You do not need to rely on a big chunk of cash. Unlike most of us here, not many of us got rocket internet cash thing around. So get what you have, all right? Use what you have, all right? Sometimes being scrappy is the best, right? Being scrappy is the best, all right? And always remember, negotiation starts at no.
Yeah. So not taking an example from Rocket where we burned a lot of cash, because that's not a great advice in that case. But I mean, what I really like is, so test small, see what sticks, and then double down. So these 3 words. So what I'm trying to say is that, sometimes you'll have such a huge gut feel about something, and you go in and I'm gonna blast my money all out and I'm gonna do it, but it doesn't work. But don't commit that capital. Test that in a small way and see what sticks. And then a lot of the stuff will fail. I can, I mean, if you do A/B testing on your platform, 90% of the stuff usually fails. There's no results. So it's only the 10% that actually works. So then double down on that 10%. Then once you know what works, that's where you spend your cash. And be very clear about when you're spending your cash, what is the impact you're driving, and track everything in cash.
Test small, see what stakes, double down. Love it. Okay, we're gonna conclude. But maybe just 1 minute each. Bring home points, final words that you want to share with all these people here. I'm sure they want to hear what you have to say. 1 minute.
Part of the reason I'm doing this is because I feel very strongly that, more Malaysians, should go outwards, right? And we have a lot of advantages, including, like Dr. Ingky said, grants and so forth. Our cost is very low. In addition, we are multiracial, right? Multicultural, right? We can survive everywhere. Just based on our 3 languages alone, we can handle China, Indonesia, and India already, in addition to English, which is Western. So everything we can do, right? So this is really our advantages, right? Which, if you're in a Western country, English speaking only, it is not so easy to translate to other languages, right? So we have all these advantages. So hopefully, I can see many more Malaysian entrepreneurs go out, make us proud.
If you haven't started your startup since day one, plan on how to go global. Do not just dream, but plan. If you are already running a startup now, plan tomorrow how to go global. Take your product, right? And instead of going to another market and then the entire product market fit again, instead what you should do is you should reverse engineer. Do a market product fit. See which market is similar to the market that you're currently serving, right? It does not matter where they are. Can be any part of the world, can be any continent, and then go to them. And what you realize is the adoption rate is going to be much quicker. You do not need to spend months and years and millions of dollars trying to figure out whether your solution works in that country or not. So once you have your product market fit here in the Malaysian sandbox, look for the market product fit internationally.
That's a very good point from Ingky. I'll just borrow from you in that case. Don't spend like rockets.
That's the bring home point.
Okay, that's the number 1 point. And don't scale until like you really found that product market fit. The scaling is going to be really expensive, and in then you're gonna be basically burning in more cash, putting in more cash just to scale. And I think the key word is that product market fit and backwards is what Ingky was saying in that case, and only then consider scale, right? Spend a lot more time in researching, finding what really works, and scale that.
Right. Thanks so much, gentlemen. I think I'll summarize by saying that really, after talking to you guys, even before today's panel via WhatsApp and outside, is to really challenge assumptions. I think very often Malaysians, we have a certain preset thinking that, okay, Malaysia can only do this much or we can only go that far. And maybe we don't have enough, although we have, but maybe not enough that inspires us. That it's happening, but happening quite low key maybe, right? We have to look at Ipoh, maybe not looking at Ipoh, like Ipoh is already doing it trailblazing. But I think the message here for all of us is that Malaysia boleh, really. Malaysia boleh. So I really hope from this session, you guys are inspired and you guys will start breaking some rules and learning from these guys. I think what I'm hearing, so you guys are quite approachable, can approach you on LinkedIn and all that. And I think more than happy to give you some advice, right? So with that, I'll conclude today's panel. Thank you, everybody. Yep.